Hi, I'm Carol Hamilton, and I want to introduce you to a simple way to understand abstract art. We can learn a lot by studying each of these artists' styles, their use of space, color, light, and relationships. Let's get started. The composition of this piece by Nadine Rippelmeyer is dynamic because the center of attention is not in the center of the picture. It's up in the upper third quadrant. There's a nice loose feel to the flow of the beigey colors at the bottom half of the painting. The squiggly thin lines offer a pleasing balance to the more solid black and red tones. The artist has also effectively used the darkest color, black, to contrast the warm and lighter values in the red and yellow. Bob Vogel has used a bright color palette to color in whimsical, lively shapes that interconnect with each other in a pleasing manner. His strongest focus of attention is on the right-hand side, where more of the shapes are grouped together. The shapes on the left-hand side are more independent of one another. He has a nice balance of warm versus cool colors and straight versus curved lines. His title is equally whimsical, Gravity's Rainbow. Watercolor artist Corinne Ellsworth has placed her strongest focal point in the lower left-hand quadrant of the painting. She's further emphasized it with the solid area of green and yellow. Her color palette is simple, one of the reasons this painting works so well. I've no idea how she came up with the title, Funk and Wagnalls, but it certainly gives her painting more individuality than if she'd called it something like Study in Green and Yellow. Janelle Bragg gives us a wonderfully simple rendition of houses on a street. Notice how she hasn't tried to paint every window, every door, every bush, and every blade of grass. Her composition is strong and further strengthened by her simple color palette. The contrast of dark versus light and use of warm gold and gold-green colors make this a strikingly effective piece. This rendering of trees and boats is completely stylistic. Notice there are 9 trees, an odd number, which is most pleasing to the subconscious. This is a good example of breaking down spaces and forms into abstract shapes. This painting was in a hotel room in Guayaquil, so unfortunately I wasn't able to get the artist's name. Here's a nice balance again of light and dark values, warm and cool hues, and straight and rounded lines. The extended horizontal shape of this painting by David Ralph also adds an unexpected interest to it. Again, this painting, completely different from the previous one, shows a good balance of light and dark values, warm and cool hues, and lines versus solid areas of color. These are the elements that make a pleasing composition.
Here, Jan Weiss has made the negative space, the white part, a major element of the design. Her predominantly cool palette is offset by the warmth of the sparse gold tones. The diagonal line of dots from the upper left-hand corner leads the eye down into the focal point. The only thing I'd add to this painting would be a name as colorful and interesting as the picture.
The color palette in this watercolor by Jill Ledette is simple, just 2 basic colors. The artist's use of extreme light and dark values of the colors and varying brush strokes make this an especially dynamic painting. The center focus of this painting is in the upper right-hand quadrant of the painting, making the composition asymmetrical. Notice the major yellow lines leading away from the center at the top and left sides of the painting are in 3s, another odd number. The artist's Nina Plant demonstrates a very successful use of complementary colors, purple and yellow, with the reds and blues providing strong accents. The use of primary colors and mostly hard lines in this painting emphasize high drama. The artist has used a few washes in some of the larger spaces effectively to soften the harshness that would be there if he had only used hard-edged shapes. Again, a nice contrast of colors, hues, values, shapes, and lines. Here the artist has used intense colors in a limited palette, red and blue, to create a dynamic composition. We see 2 major elements, but the artist has added a third between the two at the top and made it darker in color in order to send it to the background of the perspective. This makes the picture look almost three-dimensional. The white parts of the paper she hasn't painted emphasize the colors so that this painting sparkles. It's a great use of what we call negative space. Blue by nature is a peaceful, soothing color. This artist, Jill Ledette, has combined two different kinds of blue with brown in a limited palette. The soft edges of her washes support the relaxing nature of this painting. It's vibrant but comfortable at the same time. The strongest part of this colorful painting is on the left side. The artist has embellished the painting itself with words, some of which he's printed backwards. Combined with strong primary colors, predominantly red and green, it gives the painting a childlike ambiance. Here's another watercolor by artist Nina Plant, in which she uses strong, vivid primary colors. There's a nice balance of lines and blocks of color washes. The image seems to flow from the left to the right side of the painting, with the abstract suggestion of an eye in the upper center. In examining these 15 paintings, you can see that there are certain similar elements in each one that contribute to dynamic and pleasing abstract watercolors. These elements include the contrast of light and dark, contrasting warm and cool colors, contrasting soft and hard edges, and contrasting the lines combined with blockier shapes. Most of these artists have left some white space in the paper unpainted, which serves to define the main elements and emphasize the positive points of the painting. Thanks for watching. I hope I've helped you to develop a new understanding and appreciation for abstract watercolors.